Hey guys, we're going to be going live at 6 o'clock, but I just wanted to say hi. I see there's a few of you watching. You will be able to see my head in the actual live stream because I'll be back here. But I just want to say hi and introduce my puppy Nell. She'll be my demonstration dog today. So we're going to go over some grooming things at 6 o'clock. Hopefully you have your dogs ready and they are next to you and ready to learn alongside you. Hey girl. Put your harness on. Good girl. You set up? Good girl. Yes, good job. Great. Good girl. Set up? Yes, good girl. Great. Nice. Good girl. Good puppy. Saddle. Yes, good job. Stand. Good girl. If you're just joining in, we have about 10 minutes before we go live. This is my puppy, Nell. She's going to be my demonstration puppy today. Hopefully she's a good girl. She is a baby, so she is learning alongside your dogs, or maybe they are already very cooperative for grooming, and you're just here for some extra tips. Is that help? Good girl. You're being a very good girl now. Good job. Yes, good girl. Break. Good. Does that help? Does that help? Good job. Want to go around one more time? I don't see the wheel. So about 5 more minutes. I'm just gonna give it a little bit longer in case anyone else is joining us, and then we'll get started. This is a demonstration on what you can do with your dog at home to work on their grooming and their nails. So we're going to go over some basic grooming tips as well as nail care. I know that's a big question for everybody right now, so hopefully this will be helpful for you. So a few more minutes. I'm gonna let my puppy stretch her legs in the meantime. And you see your tricks. So, good girl. So we're gonna get started in about 2 minutes, guys. I'm trying to catch your comments to see what all of your dogs' names are. I think I saw a Penny, Max maybe was in there, and a Tandy. This is Nell, if you are just joining us. Her name is Nell. You're being a very good girl. You gonna settle? Settle. Good girl. Thank you. Very good. Yes, good job. Okay, so it is just going on 6 o'clock, so we are going to go ahead and get started. If anyone joins in as we are going through this, there'll be lots of information. So we are going to cover a lot today, in a short amount of time. I won't keep you guys too long. And before we do that, I should probably introduce myself. My name is Melissa Vieira, and I own MJ's Pet Training Academy in Acushnet, Massachusetts. So I am lucky enough to have this opportunity to team up with BarkBox in order to answer the questions that everybody is asking right now. How do I take care of my dog's coat and nails at home? So if your dog has normally been going to the groomers and all of this care of the coat and the nails is now falling on you, you might have some questions about that. So I hope to answer those questions for you today. We're not going to go into trimming and clipping. I have seen some crazy at-home haircuts on the internet, and we don't want to encourage you guys to give your dogs mohawks or do any very silly haircuts, because then your groomers are going to have to try to figure that out when they do take your dogs back to the grooming salon. So we're just going to go over the basics. And really, this is important for keeping your dog healthy when they can't go to the groomer. So we want to make sure that their coat is not getting matted. We want to make sure that their nails aren't overgrowing, because that can be very uncomfortable for them. So we are really looking at the things that are going to help maintain your dog and just make sure they're comfortable at home. So the first thing I want to do is kind of throw away this idea of grooming as a chore. So if you feel like grooming is another thing on your to-do list, right? So if you feel like you just have to get this done and it's been on your to-do list, you have so much to do already, then just get rid of that idea. So this isn't going to be a chore. This is going to become bonding time between you and your dog is really going to learn to love grooming. So that's where I should have gave a little bit of my background before I started getting into this, but I have so much that I want to cover, so I didn't want to go too long on talking about that. But that's kind of my special area of interest, is making sure that when dogs are doing things that they have to do, like go to the groomers, vet care, just day-to-day things that they have to do, wiping their paws, cleaning their ears, that we are approaching that in a way that is very positive, and that the dogs are not finding these things stressful, they're not afraid, and they're enjoying these things. Sorry, I have to pay attention to my puppy too, which is why she's on a harness. So I really want to make sure that we are listening to our dogs. So we're not just going in and trying to groom them. We're actually paying attention to what they're telling us. And I think you'll be surprised at actually how much your dog is telling you when you're working with them and when you're grooming them. So they are always communicating with us, and it's just up to us to figure out what they're saying and to communicate with them back. So Nell is a puppy. She is very tired because she has had a busy day, but she's a puppy. So throughout this process, she's going to do things like she might tell me if she doesn't like something, or she might tell me if she's feeling restless. And those are the things I'm going to point out to you. So I'm going to tell you, okay, well, she's doing this, so this is what I'm going to do. And hopefully that's going to be helpful with you and your dogs at home, because you might be surprised to find that there's something your dogs don't like. So you didn't know, but maybe you go to trim their nails and they don't like that so much because the groomer's been doing it and you haven't tried it at home. So you might be surprised to find out if there is something that your dog doesn't like, and we are going to address that. So let's just get right into it. The first thing I want to show you is, as you can tell, I have been feeding my puppy the whole time she's on the table. So I keep this cup of treats nearby, and I actually call this a focus target. So she is allowed to look at this cup of treats if I need her to look forward. So I'll show you what that looks like. If I just need her to look forward for any reason, I'll just show her her treats. Focus. And just let her look at that. She's very distracted, but yes, good girl. And sometimes we just need to give our dog something to look at, and that can be very helpful. But then I also train her that when those treats are out of play, like if I'm grooming her on the floor, I don't want her crawling over to the treats and trying to get the treats. So that's just something to think about, having treats when it's grooming time, because this is something we're asking our dogs to do, and I ask a lot of my dogs. So we're doing training and tricks and all kinds of things all the time. So I want to make sure that if I'm asking them to do something, I'm giving them some kind of pay for that. So for now, that happens to be treats. If your dogs like treats at home, that might be very useful. Good girl. There you go. Thank you. So that's the first thing. Just have some treats. And you want to break this up into small sessions. So don't try to do everything at once. You can work on the nails one day. And even if you can trim 1 or 2 nails, that's fine. So you don't want to try to do it all at once, because then your dog is just going to become really annoyed with you and they might not be too happy about it the next time you ask them to come get groomed. So you want to start making sure that your dog finds grooming time to be very relaxing. Oh, you're being very good. Thank you. Like this. So I want her to actually relate an emotion to grooming time. I don't want just a trained behavior of my dog can stay on the table. I want her to know it's grooming time and to just feel very relaxed about that. And hopefully that's what we're always aiming towards, and hopefully it's working. She seems to be getting there. So I'm going to show you a few different options for nail trimming. Now we know we have the treats. That was the first thing. And I think we should just get right into the big, bad, scary nails, because I know everybody has this subject on their mind and it's scary and intimidating, but we are going to make it a little less scary, hopefully. So the thing about nail trims, can you settle? I'm just going to actually come back over here for a second because you guys can probably hear me better over here. And I'm just checking if there's any questions as I'm going through this. Okay. So the thing about nail trimming, which many of you probably already know, that's for you. Silly girl. Is if you do cut your dog's nail too short, it could actually bleed. So that is the part that is very intimidating, right? None of us, we don't want to hurt our dogs, and we certainly don't want them to bleed, and we don't want to make a mess. So the way you want to trim nails is only take off a tiny, tiny bit at a time. And I mean, think about like if you're peeling an onion, like the little pieces of the outside of the onion that comes off, that little tiny, tiny slither. So think of the smallest little amount you could get with the nail clippers, and that's what you want to take off at a time. You're not just going to put the nail trimmers around the nail and just clip. You're going to almost shape it by taking off a little bit at a time. Good girl, I'm going to feed you because you're being calm. Good job. So there's different kind of nail trimmers, and you will just find whatever works for you. I mean, whatever's comfortable in your hand, whatever you feel comfortable with. Now you want to remember that these things are sharp, right? Because you feel how thick your dog's nails are. So this has to cut through your dog's nails. So when you're working on the nails, you want to make sure they're not sniffing the nail trimmers, they're not putting their tongue next to it. So it is a sharp blade in there. So you just want to make sure you keep your dog's face away from it. If you're training, so if you're just practicing, you can actually, of course, these ones probably won't lock, but you can actually lock them so that the blade is closed. Before you even begin trimming your dog's nails, get your dog used to just having you touch their paws. So again, you might not have realized if your dog does have an issue with paw handling. It might just be something that you didn't really think to do before because they're going to the groomers. So you might realize now if you go to hold your dog's paw and they don't like it, it's something to work on a little bit first before you do the nail trimming. So I'm going to ask my poor puppy to stand up, even though she's so comfortable. Oh, stand. Oh, all right, maybe I won't. I'm just going to leave her down because she's so comfortable. So when you go to handle your dog's paws, you don't want to just reach right for the paw, okay? So you want to start at like their shoulders or their neck, wherever they like to be pet. Start up here and then work down their leg to their paw. So don't just go in and grab their paw because they're immediately going to like shell up and kind of draw in. If you just go reach for their paw, they're going to be like, what is that about? Unless you ask them to do it as a trick, that might work as well. So you're going to start by just petting your dog, work your way down to their paw, see if you can just hold on to their paw for a few seconds. If they're okay with that, then see if you can put pressure with just your fingers, no nail trimmers yet, on each individual nail. So see if you can just do that before you even try trimming them, because if your dog is fighting for that and if you're having a really hard time with that, you might want to work on that a little bit before you start to try to clip the nails, because it's going to be a lot easier for you if your dog is still. And when I say work on that, what I mean is doing things like pairing holding their paw with feeding them. So you would hold their paw, give them a treat, or just putting the pressure with your fingers on their nails every day for a week. So just doing that for a week until your dog gets used to that. So you really want to start off where it's easy for them and then work your way up. When you are feeling ready to trim the nails, if you need to actually clip them, there are some alternatives that I'm going to go over in just a minute. But if your dog's nails are really long and like the filing and the walking and the other things I'm going to talk about aren't working, then you can actually trim them if you're feeling like this is something you can do at home. So again, you're only going to take off a little bit at a time. Can I do a nail? Her nails are pretty short, so I'm not going to take off much. But what you want to do is you should never, as you're squeezing this, you should never feel that the nail is like spongy or getting really like thick. It should cut off very easily. The quick or the blood supply to the nail actually grows with the nail. So if your dog hasn't had their nails trimmed in a month or 2 months that quick, where the part that we do not want to get, because that is the part that'll bleed, that's going to be really long. So you wouldn't be able to take off a whole lot in the first clipping. You would have to do this every couple days or every week until the quick starts to draw back. So that part actually grows with the nail, so you're only taking off a little bit. And what you want to do is just get a little slither. I know, I just went right for her paw because she's very used to this. Good girl. And I know you guys can't really see what I'm doing from there, but it's just, you're just taking off a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. Your dog should barely notice that you're taking anything off. And that's it. And then give them a treat. Let them know they were so great. Good job. And then what you would do is check the underside of the nail. So actually just look at the nail itself. And if you have nice clear nails, you can kind of see what's going on, right? So you can figure that out. You'll see that quick inside the nail, and you just want to stop before it. You don't want to get too close to it. If your dog has black nails, that's where it gets a little bit more challenging. So if your dog has black nails, you really want to lift up their paw and look underneath the nail after you clip. So look to see if you see like a circle appearing in the nail. If the color changes, then you're getting too close to the quick. But you should really just only take off a tiny slither of the nail and then end it and then do it again in a few days. And that's how you're going to draw that quick back. I could probably do a whole live just on nail trimming because there's so much that goes into this. So just different types of nail clippers. I'll just kind of show you guys up close. You are going to stay right there. So these are just a few different kinds. Here you go. And something else you will want to have if you're trimming your dog's nails at home is Styptic powder. So this is just going to, if you were to accidentally cut into that quick, I'm sorry, don't listen, then it's something that you would use to stop the bleeding. So you would just put it on a Q-tip or put it on your finger and hold it on the nail. So it's just something good for all pet owners to have because you never know even if a dog chews their nail too short or if they break a nail, it's been known to happen, then you have that in your first aid kit. So I'll just show you a little bit what that looks like. That's just kind of a powder. Well, that's exactly what it is. It's a powder. Okay. So you want to check when you start trimming the nails, if you're doing this at home, you want to check to see if your dog has dew claws. So claws up here. Oh, why is your tail down? You're so tired. Or extra claws even up here in the back. So they can have all these extra claws that we forget about, extra nails, and we want to make sure we're getting to all of those. Now, if all of that sounded really scary to you and you were like, no way, I'm not doing that, you can file them. So you can use a nail file, and I'm just going to show you a little bit of that. This is just, it has dogs on it. It's actually a pet nail file, so you can buy them for dogs, but I mean, you can use human ones as well. Yeah. So I'm just gonna feed her while I'm holding her paw up. I'm gonna glance to see if there's any. She can hold her paw up all day, I guess. Multitasking, I'm sorry, puppy. Right, and then I'm just gonna file just a little bit. See how her leg, I don't know if you can see it, but her leg right here is kind of flinching, like she's just not really sure about that. Yes. So I'm just gonna give her a treat because she's being such a good girl. So while you're doing all of this stuff, you wanna make sure you're keeping your dog's legs in line with their body. So I wouldn't want to pull her leg off to the side, and I wouldn't want to overextend her leg. So just when you pick up their legs in a stand, you want to keep everything in line with their body. You might need a helper if you have somebody in your family that can help feed your dog or just help hold your dog so that it's a little bit easier. But again, so you don't want to pull these legs out of line of the body. You just want everything good girl. But it takes a lot of practice to get them really comfortable with that. So practice it first. And back legs, you could just pick up a little bit off the ground. You don't want to go too high. You got to think about what's comfortable for those hips. So you just go a little bit off the ground. I'll do it on this side so you guys can see. Good job. And you can also do this in a sit or a down. If you have a big Great Dane or an Irish Wolfhound, it's going to be hard for those big guys to hold their leg up for a really long time. They're going to kind of lose their balance. So you could just ask your dog to lay down and then work on them like that. So again, pet them first and then work down to the paw. Yes, good girl. Very nice. Good job. And then do that. Okay. So with the file, it's not going to be something you can just quickly get the nails back. It will take a little bit of work. Again, if you have one of those really, really big dogs, this little tiny nail file is going to take a long time to get those nails back. But don't do that all at once. So work on it a little bit, go back and do some more later. So just do baby steps with that. Nail files are great because the nails are smooth. So even after you trim the nails, you might want to use the file just to smooth them out, because after the nails are clipped, they're shorter, but they can still be really sharp. So you might have noticed that before with your own dog, like they get their nails clipped, but it still feels really sharp. So the nail file can just help smooth the nails out. I'm not going to go into the nail Dremel. So you might have seen it's like a handheld thing that you can have. It has spinning sandpaper on the top. So they have pet Dremels. They have ones that are made just for dogs. And you might have seen those. I'm not going to get into that because I could do like a whole separate thing just on how to use a Dremel. There are some safety things you just want to know. If you do use a Dremel, you want to be really, really careful that nothing on the dog can touch it. So you don't want the hair to get spun up in it. You don't want their nose to touch it or their tongue or anything like that. And you wouldn't want to hold it on the nail for a long time because that could actually burn the dog. So no more than like a second and a half and then pull it away. But I'm not going to get too much into the Dremel because, like I said, that's a whole different topic. So you have the nail trimmers, the file, and the other option, which I hope all of you are getting to do and enjoy, is just walking your dog. So just going out for a walk with your dog can help keep those nails back. Of course, it's not going to get dew claws that are up high, but it'll help keep the nails that touch the ground a little bit shorter. Some dogs that are really, really for nail trims, we train how to use a scratch pad. So that might be something to look into if you're having a really hard time with the rest of the stuff, good puppy, then you can look into training a scratch pad where the dogs actually trim their own nails. So that's kind of a neat thing to be able to train and to have as a tool. So I think that's it for my nail trimming. I hope that has answered some questions. I know that's like a big area and it's a big scary thing. If you feel like if your dog's nails are growing into their pad, or if they're just overgrown, or you just think that it's something that can't be done at home, just remember that even if your local groomers are closed right now, you can always call your vets. So vets are open and they will talk to you about whether or not that's something they can see you for. But if you are seriously concerned about something going on with your dog's nails, always call your vets. And that's actually going to bring me into the next area, which I'm going to go over this area pretty quickly, and then we'll get into brushing, because brushing is another big area. So for your dog's teeth and ears, you might want to brush your dog's teeth at home if your dog is comfortable. But again, just practice holding your dog's chin. So this is, oh, you're getting so tired, I know. This is just a chin rest where Nell just keeps her head in my chin, and then I would just come up and like raise her lips up. Yes, good girl. And that just gets them used to having their mouth handled, having you look at their teeth. So that will just help with getting them used to teeth brushing. So you can buy a doggy toothbrush and doggy toothpaste and brush your dog's teeth at home. You can also buy lots of great chews and things like that your dog can work on their teeth on their own also, and that's something they tend to enjoy doing. So that's always an option as well. Now, one thing you do want to do, because this is something that your groomers are normally doing, so you just want to make sure on a regular basis you're looking in your dog's mouth and just make sure there's nothing going on there. So again, if you see something that's abnormal, that's when you would call your vet. But just check on a regular basis, because that's something that groomers do when the dogs go visit. Just kind of look in the mouth, make sure nothing is stuck in the teeth, make sure there's no abscesses or like the gums don't look red or inflamed. And that's going to go the same for ears. So look inside the ears on a regular basis. Now, as pet owners and as groomers and dog trainers and anyone that's not a vet, we cannot diagnose ear infections. So even your groomer, they can't tell you if something is or isn't an ear infection, even if they're 99% sure, or even if they're just about 100% sure. That's something, again, you would need to talk to your vet about. So in order to know what your dog's ears look like normally, look in them often. So just looking in your dog's ears often, then you would know if something is wrong. So if the ears were red or if your dog started itching their ears, you would know, okay, it's time to call the vet. In the ear cleaning, if you're doing that at home, I hope you are, there's many different types of ear cleaners. So you just want to go by what the label says. Every ear cleaner will have slight differences. So just go by what the label says, and that will help you out on what to do with the ear cleaning. Always make sure it's room temperature, so don't put ice cold ear cleaner in their ears. They tend not to like that. All right, so then I'm going to show you some brushes, and that'll kind of wrap things up here. So if you have a short-haired dog, grooming is just as important. You might want you stay right there. You are just going to follow me everywhere. So you might want a rubber brush like this, which with a short-haired dog, you could do nice circles to get all that loose hair out. So you would just use this to kind of massage their coat and get all that loose undercoat out, like boxers, pit bulls, anything with really, really short coat, labs. Not so much on like a golden where their hair starts to get a little bit longer. You're going to start needing like a comb and a slicker brush, which I'll show you that stuff next. Also a nice soft, this is like a little miniature horse brush. So something like this is really nice for the short-coated dogs and just kind of getting the dust off of them, getting the dander off of them, and just cleaning them up. If you don't have access to that stuff right now and you do have a short-coated dog, if you just get like a face cloth or a little cloth and you damp it just a little bit so it's not soaked, but just a little bit damp. Don't steal treats. And you use it in the same way. So it's slightly damp and you just do circles over your dog. That's going to help get some of that undercoat out and get some of that coat that's coming off out and just clean them up. So that's an alternative. I know we don't all have, it's not easy to just go get the tools you need right now. So we kind of got to work with what we got and order things if you need them, but just while you're waiting for them to come in. So for our longer coated dogs, let me see. Oh, here it is. Okay, so our Doodles, our Shih Tzus, our Yorkies, our Poodles, which is what Nell is. She's a standard poodle. She's just little because she's a puppy. So we are going to want all kinds of tools for these guys, okay? So I'm going to come up there and show you guys, but I just don't want to go too far from where the microphone is because then you can't hear me. But I have a slicker brush, a comb, and a pin brush. Good girl. So I'll just show you guys that. Can you settle? Yes, thank you. Good puppy. Good job. All right, so a pin brush looks like this. And I'm sorry, I'm not really reading the comments, guys, because I'm looking so much at what my puppy is doing. Slicker brush and a comb. Okay. So with any dog with coat, you just want to make sure they're not getting matted. And again, don't feel like you have to do all of this at once. So don't feel like you have to brush your entire dog in one sitting, because they're not really used to that if that's not something you normally have been doing. I mean, I hope you have, but you probably haven't been doing it as much as you are right now. So break it up into sessions. Just make sure your dog is having a really, really good time. Make sure they don't look stressed. Signs of stress sometimes are very clear. Like your dog might just be trying to walk away. They might be getting up and like trying to shake a lot, like kind of just shaking you away. They might be just trying to avoid looking at you and just kind of looking away or yawning. So really just pay attention to your dog. And in my opinion, it's okay to say to our dogs, like, hey, you're stressed out. Let's not do this right now. Again, I ask my dogs for so much. So why am I going to push this one thing on them when it's something they have to do for the rest of their lives? They have to be groomed as puppies and they have to be groomed as senior dogs many years from now. So it's really important for me to have that relationship with my dogs where if they're telling me they need a break or if they're telling me they've had enough, they know that I'm respectful of that and I'm going to pay attention to that. So hopefully that's something you guys will think about at home. So with the brushing, you just want to make sure you're getting all the areas that get matted first. So depending on your breed, that's probably going to be places like in the armpits, right? So they're walking and that area gets a lot of friction. If they wear a harness under the harness, which she's only on a harness because I'm talking and I just want something I can hold on to while she's on the grooming table. But so if they're in a harness, underneath the harness, behind the ears, we pet them a lot here, right? So they get a lot of behind the ear rubs. So that might be a place that gets a lot of tangles. So focus on those areas first. And depending on your breed, you can just start with a pin brush or a slicker brush. You just want to make sure you're not actually going over your dog's skin. So you want to make sure you're just working on their coat and you're not going over the skin, because that could actually cause a lot of irritation and make them super uncomfortable. I know. So I'm just very gently, this is all brushed out, so I can't really show you too much with that. But so you would just brush it out and lift the hair as you're doing this, okay? So you lift it up and work your way through your dog and however many sessions you need to. If you can do this for 10, 15 minutes and then eat dinner and come back and do some more. So whatever works for you. But you just want to make sure with the slicker brush, you're not going over their skin and you're holding it flat. So you don't want to hold it at an angle, because if you have one of these, you'll notice that, let me grab a bigger one, the bristles are bent. So if you are holding, if you try this on yourself, I mean, don't hurt yourself, but if you hold it at an angle, you can feel they kind of poke into you more and it becomes very uncomfortable. So you want to just hold it flat and don't really hold it on their skin. So just work on the coat. Don't go over the same area of the skin and be very, very gentle with it. Now, you want to be able to just part the hair and see your dog's skin wherever you part the hair. So pretty much no matter what breed you have, you just want to be able to, like, anywhere you look, you can see all the way down to their skin. Because if you can't, and even if this stuff feels all brushed out, you feel like this feels really good, sometimes underneath gets really matted in there, and then your dog goes out in the rain and the mats get even tighter, and then it just becomes like cement, and it's just not a fun thing for your dog. So mats can become very, very uncomfortable for dogs, and it's just something to pay attention to. Thank you for the chin rest. Good girl. So make sure when you're brushing your dog, it's hard for me to show you without blocking the camera from you. I know you can't see on this side. I'll kind of work on the top. So brush through their coat first, very gently. Don't eat the brushes. And then check with a comb. So check with a comb and just make sure there's no tangles. Make sure the comb can go through every spot. You're such a good girl. And that it's not getting snagged. If you find a tangle, you can just hold your fingers under it and work on it little by little. Try to just be very careful you're not tugging at your dog's skin. And again, be careful you're not brushing over the same spot over and over. I know, you're teething, you poor thing. So brush through your dog's coat first. Pay attention to those areas that get matted. Don't eat your harness. Like the under the harness, behind the ears. Legs tend to be a big area, like right here in the legs tend to get matted. Sometimes the tails, just depending on what breed you have. So watch those areas, try to work on them as often as you can make time. It's something you'll really have to make time for because mats can get nasty really quickly. So you want to try to keep up with it and then it'll be easier for you. So you brush it through, then check with a comb. I know, you're getting restless. We're almost to the end. You're doing so good. All right. And I did want to say you might want to have like a spray with some conditioner or a spray with some water in it to mist your dog's coat as you're brushing them. Sorry, Val, I didn't mean to actually spray it at you. So that's just something you could do. If you have a clean spray bottle, you could even just use water. If you, for some reason, don't have any brushes right now and you are like in a pickle because your groomer's not open and you don't have any brushes, worst case scenario, order your brushes, and as you're waiting for them, if you feel mats, you can just start to work on them with your fingers. So just kind of separate the hair with your fingers as best as you can. I know that's like a worst case scenario, but work with what you have. So even if you don't have the tools, there's always something we, can figure out in the meantime. So if you have to just work through the coat with your fingers, or like I said, if you have a short-haired dog, you can just use a face cloth instead of the brush for the time being. You're eating your harness again. So the only other thing is bathing and drying, which I'm not going to take you into the bathing room because this puppy has had enough and I don't think she wants a bath at 6:30 at night anyways. But if you wash your dog at home, just make sure you're using pet-friendly shampoo. Make sure it's made for your dog, for dogs, but also for the age. Some shampoos will say it's okay for puppies. Some say 6 months and older. So just use something very gentle. Make sure it's okay for your dog and it's okay for their age. If you wash around their face, use Tearless around their face. And don't just put them in the tub because you have decided to give them a bath for the first time in their life at home, and you're just going to put them in the tub and they are going to be terrified. So if your dog has never been in the tub before, start working on that first. Get your dog comfortable going in and out of the tub before you just give them a bath because they might be very surprised by that. So work with them first. If you dry your dog at home, if you have a coated breed like this, you want to kind of hold the towel over them, but don't rub the hair too much. You don't want it to mat up. If you are going to use a dryer, you don't want to use anything with heat. So like our human dryers, they get very hot and that could very easily burn your dog. So it's just something to think about. I wouldn't be using that like a handheld dryer on their coat. at home, because if you hold that on one spot, that could actually hurt them or burn them, or they could overheat. So you don't want to use anything with heat to dry them. So I think I've covered everything. I'm going to give her a little bandana, and that's her. Yay, you're done. As I'm just getting her finished up here, I'll just kind of sum it up of my main goal when I'm grooming is, whether it's my own dog or somebody else's dog, I guess she doesn't love the bandana, is just making sure the dog is comfortable. If my dog is being bad for grooming, I'm not going to have the attitude of like, oh, I'm not going to let them get away with it. They're trying to like overtake the world and steal my identity and steal my house. No way. Like, if they're being bad for grooming, it's because we just haven't worked with them enough and haven't practiced with them enough, or they're just truly scared and uncomfortable. So when you're grooming your dog at home, good girl, just put yourself in your dog's shoes. So I know your dog doesn't really wear shoes. Maybe they do. But just put yourself in their position and try to give them, approach it from a place of kindness and understanding. So approach grooming from that place of just listening to your dog. You're approaching it from that place of kindness, and it's a time to bond with your dog. You want your dog to just relate the emotion of calmness and just having fun and being relaxed with you. And that can be your at-home spa time, and you should just have a really good time with your dog. You can do this while watching TV or listening to music or whatever you want, but it's a great way to spend time with your dog. So I want to thank you guys again for coming to this little grooming party. I hope this has been super helpful. If you didn't catch in the beginning, my name is Melissa Vieira, and I own MJ's Pet Training Academy in Acushnet. We have been open for 7 years now. So we are a dog training facility and a grooming salon. We specialize in everything from puppy training, obedience, and grooming rehabilitation. So we take on dogs that need a little extra TLC for the grooming time. Right now, we are not open because of everything going on, and it's a really hard time for us. But we're trying to do as many of these videos for our own clients, but also for you guys out there who might be having some issues at home and might be in the same boat of you just can't get to your groomers or can't get to your trainers right now. So we are working really hard to get these videos out there. If you do want to support MJ's Pet Training Academy, you can visit our website, mjspettrainingacademy.com, MJ's Pet Training Academy. And we have some online courses. So if you want to consider taking some dog training, we have Good Dog Level 1 available. And there's also a new grooming course, which will be available really soon. So we do have some online courses, and that is a great way to learn at home with your dog and spend time with your dog. And it means a lot for us at MJ's. It's a huge support for us right now when we can't work with our clients in person as we normally do. So thanks again, guys, for watching. I'm going to come turn off this live, and hopefully Nell is ready for bed after all that. Thank you, guys. And I'm so sorry if I didn't get to see the comments. It's just a lot to look at the dog in the comments.